Okay, so I don't know if yesterday, remember we had a conversation about, on mainland China, most of the time if you say Shuai Jiao, what they're talking about is more or less the sport, which is the gripping and the throwing. There's no ground, there's no striking. And I said, but what we do is different, right? Because the Chang lineage, Chang lineage that we inherited, went through the Central Goshu Academy. And in the Central Goshu Academy, what they did was they tried to turn it into basically like Chinese judo. The same way judo was being used in Japan in that period to train people for police and military work. And so, for example, we have ground. Most of it comes from judo, like I said, because it's not part of net native. Shuai Jiao, we have a lot of joint locking, which is not necessarily what we do in the sport of Shuai Jiao, and we have striking. And so it's like combat Shuai Jiao. And then the other example I use is that in 27, when they first started doing the competitions, the Lake Thai competitions, which were like, the UFCs of China, one of the guys who won was a Shuai Jiao guy. His throws were very good. He threw people, but I always put up the picture. When I edit this, maybe I'll put the picture in over this discussion. You see when he went at the end when they're standing up, for the 1, 2, 3, he won first, but his face is all black. So famously, like I said, if you're used to just grabbing the jacket, if I can put my hands on you, it can hurt you. Chang said that at one point. He's like, I don't know about anything else, but if I can put my hands on you, I can hurt you, and I know I can put my hands on you. But the transition from the original kind of sport, but it's a little more than sport because it's also a ritual, right? And combat Shuai Jiao or San Da Shuai Fa, Shuai Jiao for fighting is learning how to use strikes, learning how not to be punched in the face, and learning how to use the strikes to set that up. So in other words, it's good to have a grip, because once you get that grip, you can throw somebody, right? But how do we get the grip? So I would say the 3 rules are enter, which means don't get punched in the face, unbalanced, and that's what we were just doing with the grips, and then throw. Now, if you know judo, they put it a different way. They talk about, you unbalance, then enter, then throw. But they're talking about a slightly different situation. They're talking about once you have the grip, you don't want to step in with them still standing right up because they'll pick you up and dump you. But they're not talking about the striking. So, as a very easy transition, right? We're even in a sport like Shuai Jiao, right? Where we come out and we're trying to get grips. So I'm reaching to get a grip, right? Reach to get a grip, exactly. And we have these things called the separating. So I bet you remember this. I don't know, it's been a while. Reach, right? So if he reaches for me, now what I'm doing separating hands is I'm turning my palm out. And we talk about the 2 blades of the arm. In other words, you have like flesh here and flesh here, but you have bone here and bone here. And these are the 2 blades because hitting with the bone is harder and more damaging than hitting with the flesh. So when he reaches out, I'm doing this. When he reaches out here, I'm doing this. Now again, I can do this against the idea of grab, right? But it's not all that different than if I was trying to like smack you in the head. And we'll get there in a second. Right, now obviously, he could be reaching to grab, right? So, go back. No. That's what he would be reaching for, and I can block this way. And again, notice how I'm turning my arm so that I'm using the blade. So I can go high, he turns the blade out. I can go high, he turns the blade out. I go low, he turns the blade out. I go low, he turns the blade out. Right? If you, at the beginning, while you're still figuring this out, if you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 in a set pattern, that's fine. But obviously, if we want to get a little more realistic, that he doesn't know when I'm doing this or that, or this or that, but you just try to block it. Okay, these are separating hands, and right now we're doing it a little bit more in the wrestling mode. In a second, we'll do it with some impact and put on the gloves. But let's just work on the separating hands. Okay. If you were here yesterday, we talked about getting used to the pressure. Right, we had that person like lying on top of you. But we were talking about impact, we were smacking each other. Same idea. In other words, it's one thing to do this really like. I like putting gloves on because you can actually hit each other and not feel bad about it. So, in other words, if I go 1, 2. It's the same thing, right? But now I got gloves, I can actually punch it. So I can shield or I can do the insert. Right? In other words, he throws that left hook, I can shield or I can insert it. Right? In other words, I can insert, I can shield, but I'm getting used to that impact so that I don't freak out. At the beginning, the first time you get hit, most people will like blink and look away. It's scary, right? Somebody goes, boom. But when you do these drills, you get used to it. So this is just, if you've got gloves, put them on. Most people are used to seeing the tie clinch too. It doesn't matter. Right now it doesn't matter. I'm just we'll put the gloves back on in a minute. But in other words, people are used to seeing this, right? This is like your parents' 1970 house that was cool back then, but doesn't look cool anymore. This is good if people don't know much about clinching, right? But there's so many ways out of this, and so many also dangers if people know what they're doing. So really what happens is hands up, right? I can grab the neck because it's still useful, but then I have the neck and the arm, right? Because for example, if I'm here, he's got 2 arms spread, right? So he can elbow me or punch me, right? Exactly. Just hook me, right? But if I do this, well, you're not going to hit me with this arm because I'm controlling it, and my head is over here, so you're not going to get me with that. Yeah, see, exactly, right? So I have this grip. I have this grip. Sometimes I grab both arms, like a steering wheel, right? It's spinning, right? Sometimes, for example, he does just the left hook and or the straight punch, just always be prepared, right? I can shield or I can insert, and I'm going to grab him, and this is an over and under. So we do it on this angle. He throws that left hook, insert, and I come in here. This one's on top, and this one will slide underneath his underarm. I'm going to keep my head on this side because if I leave it over here, yeah, or I get headbutt, right? Boom. Here it's hard to headbutt. Right? So, also, once I get that kind of position, right, boom and boom, I can pummel in, so I get both inside. I can go up high on the chest, there's reasons for that, or go low on the waist, right? There are all different reasons for this. Also, generally I will say, like in my regular class, I say the same thing. I will show you 5 or 7 different variations because one works for me. That may not be the one that works for you. The second one may work for you, but I got 5 other people in the room, right? So they're all good positions, but one may be your position. And then of course you always gotta have like maybe 2 because one you didn't get. So, pretend I have gloves on, right? But you have gloves on, right? It's not gonna matter because he's gonna be one hit. So let's say he goes left hook. Boom. I can grab him this way, right? One on the neck, one on the arm. Does the same thing. Boom, and I grab and I reach in here. Right? Boom, like I said, I get that clinch. Boom, and I slide in and get that clinch. Because with the overhand, boom, I can grab. One on the neck, one on the arm. I can always do this, the opposite version of that, which is come from here, grab the neck, and grab the arm. Right, he goes overhand, boom, and I clinch him this way, where this is the overhook, right, and my head is over here. And my head is always going to be on the overhook side. When he threw the hook, my head was over here on the overhook side. He throws the overhand, my head is over here on the other. He goes the overhand, boom, and I get my body locked, right, on my top, high block, right? This is a double underhook high, this is a double underhook low. But when I do it low, it's clearly body. So what I want you to do is get used to block and grab, right? Which if you have somebody that's a really good boxer and somebody that hits hard, that's the answer, right? Because I don't want to just try to block everything. And stuff gets geometrically faster also. The second punch is not just faster than the first punch, it's geometrically faster, right? So, you gotta tie them up before they knock you out. Block, grab, block, grab, block, grab, okay? That's what we'll play now.